right, so I'm sitting here with the one and only Michael Weikath here. Welcome to Milan, first of all.
Yeah.
What are your first impressions of the city once again?
I like the climate here each time. Sometimes there's some kind of smog or whatever, but that was rarely the case.
It's beautiful weather today, for sure.
Really. And then I've seen all these new skyscrapers for the first time. I haven't seen them before, but somehow, I don't know, I think Milano is a little bit too criminal, maybe, but...
Criminal?
Yeah, at night, if you walk the streets at night alone. But maybe that's the wrong impression from before. Maybe that has changed. But I like the climate here. I like the air and whatever,
Did you ever consider moving here?
I did consider, but, the trouble is I wish I could speak more Italian. I learned only Spanish. And then I made it down there to Tenerife.
Of course.
I don't know, but I enjoy being here. Also when I'm in Rome or elsewhere, I really like Italy. I also like the beaches.
Of course.
And I feel good here.
That's great.
Each time.
All right, so then let's talk about your music from the very beginnings. What kind of music did you grow up with?
Well, I've been listening to the stereo of my parents ever since I was 3 or 4.
Right.
So I would go there and change all the radio stations. By the time there was a knob where you would move the scale across the radio, and so it was visual, right?
Of course.
Nowadays you have these numbers that show you the frequency and everything, but back then you had to turn a knob and then there was something coming out of it, and I've been listening to all that.
Any of it, anything you could find.
Yeah, and I listened so much till I was dizzy, or I almost fainted, or I had a headache, and so then my parents, they had to drag me to my bed. Right?
Okay, so
that's my musical education.
Great. So what kind of influences did you take from that, do you think, that you incorporated into Helloween?
As I've said so many times to everyone, the first thing that really stuck out for me, which is beyond criticism, were the Beatles. Right?
Okay.
And then all that other stuff that happened, and then later on I was really impressed by these teeny bands of the 70s. The Sweet, Mud, Free, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, all this stuff, Uriah Heep, Black Sabbath, you name them. There's been so many bands, and particularly these Chin and Chapman teeny bands. They were really cool, like Susie Quattro and all that. And this is, I kind of studied what they were doing, and then I was criticizing, okay, this band had a single, and the next single sounded exactly the same way as the first single, and so they had to go, because usually that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So I thought it's important, to offer the people different things, right? And then there was ELO, and there was ABBA, and you can say, most ABBA tracks are different from each other. Never is one ABBA song the same as the other one, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why they were so successful, right? And the Beatles even, they had so many different... It was never the same.
So you kind of took inspiration from that, I guess.
Yes, I learned from that. And so I said, one day we went into the cinema, that there was a vacation from our church community with kids. And so there was a cinema there in that town, in the Black Forest. And we went there and we watched Diamonds Are Forever, James Bond. And so then I heard that soundtrack in that cinema equipment that was there. And I thought, okay, I think I want to do music later on. I was 10 years old. I thought maybe that's it, and I've been laying in the grass, in a park close to where I lived, and I always looked into the sky, and then I always got these melodies. Or if there was a TV series or a movie, I always got impressed by these soundtracks that they had. And I've been starting to create my own melodies in my head when I was lying there. Then I thought, how do you bring this across? If you want to do anything with it, if you want to play it to somebody, or if you want to present yourself with your own melodies, what do? You got to get a guitar,
of course,
right? So I had to learn songwriting, kind of.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to structure these things. I had to learn how to play guitar. And there was even a time, which I haven't told anyone yet, I had a little plastic tent, for children. So sometimes I would bring that tent to that park and put the tent there, and then I had a little transistor radio that was hanging inside the tent. And so then I was laying on a few pillows, listening to that transistor radio, just feeling, I don't know, special.
Right, that sounds really blissful.
Yeah, and I didn't even smoke by that time, because I only ever smoked since I was 12. So by that time I didn't smoke yet.
Okay, so then let's turn our attention to Helloween itself, I guess. What kind of expectations did you have at the very beginning? Were you surprised by the success you eventually encountered? Or
yes,
did you know this was...
Positively surprised, because you can
course.
never take anything for granted, but actually we were working towards that success, and we thought we had enough talent to come up with amazing tracks. There was no discussion about that. We just thought we would break it. We would go really famous and just hit the thing on the head, right?
So you were very confident.
Yeah, we were very confident, and maybe that's also what you need for something like this. Otherwise you cannot come up with tracks.
Right.
If your energy is not enough, then you have to stop, or you have to make a break or whatever, and then you do your next album a lot later because you cannot earlier, right? If that helps, that's a solution. But if you lose all your ideas, you maybe did 3 tracks in your life, and then you fucked up and you have no more ideas, and there's not so much you can do. Which sometimes happens. Everyone has like a creative blockade at some point.
Of course.
But then, you got to use a few tricks to move around that.
What kind of tricks would those be?
I don't know. Just, be positive. I think
working at it.
It's a technique, many people have some kind of psychosis every day. Like you're having several psychoses, which is normal. This is regular. Like you say, oh, today this orange juice is so sour. I feel bad, my poor stomach. Ooh, am I a poor person, right? And then, if you dwell on that, you don't get out of your negativism, right? You should say, like, it's good that after some time, if I drink a little bit of water, the orange juice is not so bad anymore in my stomach. And then maybe you can do something else on that day.
I really like that. And I mean, that kind of leads on perfectly to what I was going to ask next, is you are a very strong source of positivity, your music.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel out of place in the metal scene?
Yeah, always.
Yeah, I can imagine, because it was such a drastically different direction, no?
Yeah, but we just took that position, and that's a niche, right? Mm-hmm. And you can categorize that, and you can talk about it in theory or whatever, but that's what I think was missing when we started that stuff, and when I had the idea to do something like that. I thought, all these rock bands, they are cool, they have good stuff, but why don't they come up with better melodies? Why not?
Of course.
And then I've been talking to a few musicians. I said, don't you think, if we did something together, we can do this, like the real heavy, and then you put that huge melody on there, like a hymn, like an anthem, and or something more poppy or what. And then, the answer usually was like, oh, are you crazy? You can't do that. And then I was going like, why can you not do that, right? Because.
Yeah.
People are stuck in their perception of things, They're kind of square, same as other people are square with other things. And, I just wanted to pursue that, so we had to meet, with like the Kai Hansen and the Iron Fist guys and everyone involved. And then we wanted to try that, and we're pretty sure it was great, because we had a good feel when we did that in the rehearsal room. We recorded it, and we thought that's really a new thing, right? And why not try?
Perfect. So are you proud of having kind of moved metal forward in that aspect?
I mean, there's still people who hate it and who will not accept it, and who will never agree. So, but I mean, we have a position in there, and then people call us the godfathers and the originators of melodic heavy metal, and all right, okay. There's other bands like Judas Priest who preceded that in a way, and you know, hey, but that's the same direction, and that's good. And sure, you can be proud of it if you achieve that. If you keep up that.
Yeah.
You know, that's not so easy.
Which you have done now, one must say.
Yeah, and you know, there's lots of people working against you if you want to do something.
Yes, yes.
Like that.
But then that does take us to present day, I guess. How, I would be very interested in this personally, how have you seen technology in music progress since, you know, the 80s, both in the recording process in the studio and on stage?
Yeah, that's crazy beyond belief. I mean, I think we could talk more than 10 minutes
Absolutely.
what happened, but basically back then you were recording things on a tape, everything ran on transistors, and everything ran on tubes.
Yeah.
And so nowadays, if you want to keep that quality, I mean, it was a very developed way of recording things, and it included magic and warmth. That you could say. I mean, the devices have been devised and done, you know, and produced up to very, very high standards. And then you were listening to that from some scratchy vinyl with, you know, a pin that was going, and they're producing that sound. Incredible. Yeah. Then you put that into a tube amp, which is still sounding best nowadays.
Yeah.
And then you have digital amplifiers, and then everything went digital. And they came up with these plugins and software that's supposed to mimic the old generation things. And they can, but still, it's what I always call, they stay in the bit universe. I call it that. Mm-hmm. And they are kind of like, you know, I'm supposed to be good sounding, but I'm in here in this bit universe. I can't get out. You know, and the results are impressive. But somehow, if you've been around in those old days, particularly in the 60s, like when I grew up, or the 70s, you know what is a warm, round sound. There's lots of dynamics and everything.
Yeah.
And the record player adds that certain magic, you know, that's not even exactly on the recording. You can only hear it if you have a tape machine in the studio. This is where you can get it. This is where you hear it as it is. And then you got a record which is adding magic, as I said.
So do you feel that magic has gotten lost over the years?
It's not the same.
No.
It's not the same. There is that magic. If you take like a real expensive amplifier and real good, you know, CD players or whatever. Like I have a Marantz one that doesn't recognize CDs anymore. I think it's dead. But sure, I'm going to get myself another one, because that particular one, they have their own digital transformers in there. That makes the CD sound a little bit like a vinyl record.
Okay.
Which I prefer. And then you have some audio fields, they very often have a Marantz CD player, and there must be a reason for that. Other than that, I'm a fan of Denon and Sony amplification.
Okay.
But that doesn't say anything. You can also pick your own brand, you know, it's like whatever suits you most, because there's so many devices out there, because people have different tastes.
Of course.
Right? And then it's a matter of the of the cabinets that you want to use for the loudspeakers and stuff. There's so much. But it's a different world. The analog world is a different world than the digital world. And still, it takes a lot of effort to somehow reproduce what's happening in the analog world, in the digital world. It's possible. It's possible that you cannot really tell the difference or whatever, but you have to go to great lengths to achieve that. And sometimes that's not so easy. And it costs a lot of commitment, time, and knowledge. So we are happy we have that producer we have.
I mean, that's the perfect segue, I guess, into your new album, My God-Given Right. I want to start off kind of very broadly. What was your objective when you started writing the record, when you started recording it? What was the one thing in your mind that you wanted to achieve?
We did all the same as we did on the Straight Out of Hell.
Yeah.
Just that we had different tracks, right? Time changes. And 2 tracks are even brought over from the Seven Sinners production.
Okay.
That is like everybody else, and You Still of War.
Yeah.
They were recorded or tried already during that production, and then re-edited and re-recorded and stuff for this one.
Okay, I see.
And we wanted to be as good as we could. Naturally, everybody's at home doing the demos, and then you collect it and make a choice out of those tracks. That's the main objective. You just want to maybe even, surpass what you've done. Like, I mean, I've done the Burning Sun on the last one, and I can't exactly offer something exactly as great as that this time around, but I have 3 other tracks, that have their properties, and everyone did great choruses.
Which tracks are you most excited about sharing?
I won't say.
No,
I won't say. It's just that the Creatures in Heaven is quite interesting because it's based on another swing project, which is the Ray Conniff orchestra. I tried to mimic that a little bit, so it's a swing metal number. All you hear there could have been played by brass and could have been supported by the Ray Conniff choir.
It's actually very funny because I just had the pleasure of listening to the album, obviously, and that was the one track that really stuck out to me.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's...
So it's made in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same as, I always like to make little concepts that nobody understands. Like, for instance, the Eagle Fly Free, which you can say was quite a success.
Yeah.
That was based on Quincy Jones' 50s orchestra. I just wanted to, bring across the impact when everyone, like the bass player and the drummer and someone there, in that orchestra would have their little solo parts.
Yeah.
And that's just what you have in Eagle.
Right. That's very interesting. So let's talk about touring. I mean, that's obviously a large part of being a musician. You have a few big dates coming up this summer, of course.
Yeah, we're doing some festivals.
Yeah.
20 have been confirmed, and in the end there's going to be Loud Park in Japan. Okay. And afterwards we're going to go to Australia because it's only 10 hours by plane from there. So we thought, it's
nice
such a
Yeah.
short jump, then you go 10 hours and play 5 shows in Australia. From February on there's going to be the European and world headlining tour.
Right.
There's no dates yet, so there's not so much I can tell you about that.
Can we look forward to a Milan show? Perhaps?
I would guess so. I mean, as far as I know, we've been in the Alcatraz here
exactly.
a few times now, and I always enjoy it each time because, it's a great venue.
Yeah.
The fans are great. I think there could be more accommodation in front of the, venue. I think there could be some tables, maybe somebody could serve some coffee or whatever, or there could be some pizza stands.
Very rock and roll.
Yeah, or somebody could do some burgers, I think it's always so cold, in front of the venue, and it's in the shadow, I think. There's hardly ever any sun there. But, so I think it's just cruel waiting there outside if you want to get in, particularly in winter. And I'd rather play there, when it's warm here. Much better than fucking winter time. I don't like it.
I think everyone feels that way for sure.
Last time was too cold. I didn't like it. I mean, I didn't like that cold.
Of course.
I liked all the rest, but not the cold.
I'm sure shows in Germany are quite special for you, no? Are they any different from the rest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Germans are very cynical, and there's truth about the profit in its own country. And there, you always got to be, kind of extra persistent or convincing. Because, it comes very easy, I've seen Helloween a few times now, and I think this show sucked.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
Or the magic was missing, or they didn't hit the rock and roll quality on the nail, or they were pathetic, or what do I know. You have that very easy that somebody says so. But basically, I think we're on an upward turn in Germany since some time. And sure, I enjoyed that because times have been very different during the Chameleon and after, and it took a long time to re-establish the relationship in between the German fans and us, and that was also because we had an English management who didn't really care much or had no big clue about how to run things in Germany, which is very important.
That's interesting. Yeah, of course. So just to finish off, if you had to choose one or two things that you would share with your fans about, or future musicians as well, that you've learned on the road and in the studio, what's a couple of pieces of knowledge you would like to share with them?
It's just if you want to have some success or whatever, you better be original. And don't follow your idols too much. See that you get your own identity musically. That if you're a guitarist or a bass player or whatever, you develop your own little traits that are recognizable. That make you a character towards the outside, because there's many people who hate me but they like what I do,
Right, I see.
Or there's people who hate my music but they like me as I am. They say he plays crap, but he's a funny character. Or the other way around. He sucks but he's playing some good solos sometimes.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Best of luck with your new album and all the tours coming up.
Right.
And hopefully see you soon in Milan.
All the best to you and everyone who listens or reads this.
Thank you.